Good afternoon, actually good night. This is Alan at Discover Games with Troy. We're going to start doing at least a weekly video on just details of Freeblades and kind of try to answer some questions. We'll start with probably common questions, look at obviously tactics, looking at some units and different stuff. So if you do have any questions you'd like us to address, or once again just kind of how to play stuff, we will attempt to do that. We're still new at this, but we'll give it a shot. And yeah, we're just sitting here. We're discussing maneuver. One thing I see is most gamers would call it zone of control with the 4 inches, and what's the impact of that with really everything, charging, running. How do you get behind someone? Because you do have the issue of once you get inside that 4 inches and your intent is to contact a model, you have to go direct. So that does make it a challenge. So I think we're just going to sit here and talk for a minute. Once again, hopefully, if you guys have questions, let us know, and we'll try to go into details on maneuvering or just anything in general. So we'll just start, I guess, with some very basic stuff. The standard maneuver is the speed of a model depicted on the card. You can charge, actually, I should say you can sprint up to double that, with the last 2 inches being in a straight line. Now, charge has to be a straight line the whole time. And to be considered a charge, the last 3 inches, you have to move at least 3 inches. So I guess we've come up through a couple cases where a model has been engaged, and a lot of times is trying to get that second model engaged from like a rear to possibly negate someone's shield or something like that. So what do you got, Troy?
Well, it's kind of difficult in some ways. Like, let's say these two were here together, and let's say she's right over here. And let's say Exhibit A here had a shield, and you want to pop him in the booty, which is not an easy task in this game, really. So, if my intention was to go to here, but I wanted to get to here, as soon as I cross that 4-inch marker, which I'm not there, let's say she's there. Let's go here. So, if her intention's there, let's say her movement was 7. So, we'd have to swing it around just a hair until we got to that 4-inch point that we like right there, and then we can bring her in the rest of the way. At that point, especially if this model has already moved, he ain't gonna be able to turn out facing. If he's moved less than his actual speed value, or has not moved for the turn, he could turn facing. And there's a way you can do it just like that, where
You get both.
You can get both and not get hit in the butt.
Well, and same thing, what I see once again, because usually you're coming in as a line with your forces. So you have the case where the second one comes in following one behind. And this is where you'd get, especially, and we'll say this terrain is here, it's rough, so you cannot sprint through rough, you can only maneuver. So that would be where you start getting into an issue of the 4 inches staying out of terrain. So in this case, she could not come around this way.
Nope.
Because as soon as she hits, even here, I got another 4 inches.
Yeah.
This is the fact that he's, 5 inches or 4 inches in the base size. She couldn't come around that way. Now you have the same case here. She could fit through here.
And could technically sprint around to do it.
So her movement is 7.
So 14.
Staying
Keep it moving.
outside until roughly here.
And that's 12 inches right there.
So that would be 16.
Yeah, 16 to get there, which won't be possible.
Wouldn't be possible. So, at first thought, you think, hey, getting in the rear is easy to do. It's not.
Mm-mm.
Now, once again, you couldn't charge through your model, but she could come to here, and then she would
be able to go into there.
Correct?
Correct.
But you would not get the rear.
No,
on that.
Not at all.
So
it's a very tactful game overall, because yes, the overall beginning of this is simple, but when you start getting into charge, counter charge, intercept, evade, all this other stuff, it becomes a chess game, really.
Well, you're talking about the counter charge. This is a prime example where if you start getting very tactical, that this might be a case if charge, well, hey, I'm going to counter charge. That just makes sense, right? Because remember where he is, kind of mark him, he is there.
Yep.
We already said in the other case, there's no way she could get a rear.
Correct.
But if they, and I know he's a big model, but
if he accepted the counter charge,
he accepted the counter charge, moved him up. Now,
now it's even worse, because now she had to go through the woods to get to him.
Okay, she still couldn't have, because she's in the woods. But let's
say the woods weren't there.
Let's move the woods. Now you're looking at.
All right, so go there.
Come around to roughly here.
And that's 9. It would be another 4, 13. Just
once again, this case, because he accepted the counter, moved him closer, she could actually get to the rear now.
Correct.
So this is a prime case where accepting the counter may not be the best thing for you, because depending on the stats of this model, this could actually be the worst model. So, and I'm seeing, not have played that many games, but enticing someone to accept that counter is a tactic. And that's for you, your first bite is, I'm going to counter charge. Why not? Because especially if my discipline is a die level higher, I'm going to get the first strike.
Yep.
Or even not, because I counter charge, I still get the first strike.
Correct.
So, and that's why Troy mentioned earlier on the surface of this game, very simple. But as you see quickly, especially if you've played any miniature games before, you start peeling back the layers of those onions. This is simple maneuver we're talking about, and
there are just so many things.
Already a good discussion going
wrong with this all around.
What's a couple of, and we're finding we get really focused on that charge counter charge, but there's other items out there. There's intercept. That's
one what we're about to do is intercept.
I don't probably do enough. Is the intercept. So what's the intercept, Troy?
All right. So intercept is, let's say, our little Treasure leader here wants to charge this guy here, the Packmaster. Okay. So now this is what he's wanting to do. He's wanting to charge. Packmaster, sure, come on in. Let's say this was just somebody else altogether. Black Rose is within 4 inches of the pathway of this charge. She can then meet him at the point of interception and take the attack on, leaving the Packmaster perfectly fine. At which point, if she does 3 inches in her movement, she is also counted as charging. For these two, will be a charge, counter charge on the right. Packmaster at that point be like, all right, well, he comes to his movement phase, and you know what, let's just go over here, or whatever he wants to do. It helps you protect a lot more of your softer stuff if you have somebody who's around to intercept that charge, because maybe you wanted him to come in and just head him off, because you might have a couple other guys who are around. And if you go second, and this is where almost everybody doesn't like going first, but if you learn how to go first in this game, it pays off really good. Because, yes, I might want to charge this, and I might want this interception to come in. If not, he's going to countercharge. Cool. If not, I'm going to go in. If that's the case and he didn't intercept, let's say I just want to bring him in and mash this up to where no pile on. There's a lot to this. You got to play the strengths of your faction, but also know the strengths of their faction. Like me and my Black Rose, oof, we okay going first. We're okay going second these days.
Well, and you talked about the intercept. If I have a cheap little 5-point model,
yep,
and he's got his big beat stick there,
yep,
and oh yeah, well I just intercept my little cheap model. And I just saved my leader from getting pounded.
Right. And then that's where other things come into play. So let's say I have this here, and let's say this was here with me, and let's say you had this. Okay. Me personally, I would not do this charge first. I would actually go here to tie up the interceptor, then start bringing this in. That leaves this one here. To where she wanted to intercept, she could still do it and bring it here. And if the Packmaster didn't do anything and this got dropped, that 3-inch reposition would instantly put you right here. So there's a lot to do depending on what you want to do and what your overall goal is.
Yep. Only thing we saw, me and Troy just finished up a game. Another thing we don't do and don't see done a lot is the evade. Especially if you got that squishy caster that you don't want to lose. I had the prime example. I evaded and it forced her to go into rough terrain. There was no way because I moved, 10?
You went 11, I think.
11?
Yeah.
And his movement's, a 6?
Was a 6, yeah.
So into rough. So there's no way he could get her. Now it took my caster out, but it saved her from getting slaughtered, probably.
Oh, it did. It definitely did.
That's something, your reactions, something to think about in that case. What else, Troy? What's something else you see that we don't do enough of or we mess up quite often?
We mess up a lot quite often. Let's be fair about that.
Well, questions. What's we just had a discussion, and I think it was a good one, about the pylon and the wording of that. Something I think I reread it a couple days ago. I think we were doing it wrong.
Right. We were.
That this is where you get the people that's played other games and you read one sentence out of the rules and it's okay. Well, with Freeblades, you really have to read the whole paragraph, the whole section, and really what are the words telling you. And I'm big and I like Freeblades is the intent of the rules.
Right.
So we were playing it if a person charged that they couldn't be part of the pylon.
Correct.
So we had a case where, once again, that miniature charged in, couldn't be a pylon, charged in, couldn't be in a pylon. And because this one, I couldn't charge through a miniature, I just had to sprint around. Initially, we were going, hey, and it was once again just due to wording, no one was getting pylon. Well, after rereading that whole 2 paragraphs, and looking at the word choice they use, no, I do get the count of pylon. Pylon for every model, it's a -1 through the defense. So he would be a -2 defense.
Right.
In this case. So
what happens is, though, the person who did the charging is the one who can't get piled on themselves.
So when they charge, and to me, it goes back to that going first. You mentioned that a lot of people, I got the initiative, I don't want to go first. Well, if you charged,
right,
and I went, you don't get counted as piling on. So that is a case where you may want to charge, just so you don't get ganged up on.
That's true. Very true.
You know, what else? What else did we see? Don't roll one when you do your morale check with your leader.
Oh yeah, be happy for Malicious Spearman because he took on 4 guys and survived, and still dropped somebody.
So yeah, just for the record, I want people to know the last 2 games I played Troy, my leader has not hit, taking a life point, 1 life point, failed the morale check,
Yes.
and
Ran.
Very
close to running off the board.
Well, the last game ran off the board.
He was gone. Yes, I was very
so
happy for that.
Yeah, don't roll a 1 on morale checks with your leader. What else, Treaty? I mean, we have nightly discussions about the rules, and we'll continue to read them. I tell you, I will say kudos to Matt and John.
Oh yeah.
We either go direct or we're posting them up on the Freeblade players, and we're getting honestly immediate feedback on the rules. And that's I go step back a little bit. I think one of the issues we're miniature gamers. We're not role players.
Right.
This was definitely a role-playing game with miniatures almost. So we get focused on that one sentence says I can or can't do something, and we don't go back.
Right.
We don't read the whole paragraph. And some of the word choices that are used, once again, coming from that miniature background, honestly, we interpret them one way when actually, if you really break it down and read the whole thing, it has a different meaning.
Right.
So I know that can be interesting, but I go back to the intent of what's going on. Now, I tell you, once again, Freeblades, I'd say 95% of what do you think would really happen is what the intent of the rules were.
Right.
So once again, if it's truly big time shenanigans,
if it sounds too good to be true,
you might want to reread it, and because building a powerful character, it can be done, but it's probably only good against one other type of situation that we found. No matter what we do, it goes back to you could have the biggest, baddest leader with all the biggest points on it, and spend all your time and effort. I'm saying this from experience, and you fail that morale check. Guess what? You probably just lost the battle, even though you've not. You could lose truly one life point.
Yep.
And lose the battle because you
lost that one life point.
Your
and you
50+ gold leader ran off the table.
Oh yeah.
So now, don't get me wrong. You need to look at building your list and look at your miniatures and play the scenario. And we were discussing about that. There's some, don't get frustrated because there are some scenarios. Once again, if you're all about movement and you got this big beast and it's a lot of trees or something like that,
yeah,
you're going to be handicapped.
They're going to learn that one soon.
So, that's where, yes, I may want to charge everything and just try to break them. But anything else, I got away from it. I was going to stay focused. Anything else on movement in general? We covered evade.
Yeah.
But this is quick. Evade is directly away from the miniature evading.
You gotta make a discipline check first, though.
To evade?
Yeah.
That's right. I did do that. I passed.
Well, you did.
I think that was the only thing I passed that game was to run away.
Yep.
And now a little different from panic. Panic is directly towards
home edge.
Your home edge. So that can be.
And evade is directly from the mall you're running away from. And screaming like a little girl.
She was.
Oh, yeah. She was.
Yeah, I think that's about it. And like I said, this is we're going to work on our format. We need input, any questions, any examples you guys want to see. We'll try to bring up questions we've seen play throughout the week. Just so once again, people can learn from us being.
And I do want to point out one thing. At my initial 150, they all died, except for him.
He's got a chip.
And I named him Alan. He's the only one who's still of the original alive.
Because he's a smart guy.
He actually got Rise of the Hero. He has a head injury, a back injury, and I think another injury.
That's why the
chip's there, yeah. But he's the only one from the original group still alive. And he will not die no matter what I try to do with him. And I've tried to kill him last couple games just to get him the original out. But yes, he is the champion of it all.
Got to zoom in on him.
Oh, yeah, zoom in on you, yeah.
Yeah. Nice looking guy.
Yeah, whatever.
So, yeah, that's it. We wanted to keep it short and sweet. Hopefully you get some interest, some questions, and just discussions going out there. We're trying to slowly look at all the factions. Yeah, and just like we talked about, just the simple movement rules, you start digging into those factions and the combinations and what they can and can't do.
Yep.
There's a lot going on there. And hopefully we'll maybe go into a couple of factions. I just got crushed. What were you playing?
Ravenblade Mercenaries.
Yeah, Ravenblade. I did one LP.
Yeah, that's all I did.
I did one LP and lost 7-0.
Yeah, we were doing the
what scenario?
Advanced Guard.
Advanced Guard. I lost 7-0. I did one life. So yeah. But yeah, still had fun running away. Anyway, that's all we have. And hopefully, once again, we'll try to get something up on Tuesdays. Give or take a week or two.
Yeah.
But well, thanks for listening. And until next time, wash your hands.
Later.